Let me just kind of kick us in while people are still rolling in. We're almost up to 100 now. I'm going to fade the music and just kind of, and I don't know, Ian, how you want to work spotlights. I'm looking at like 30 people on my screen. But let me tell you what we're going to do today, guys. Agentic AI is like a buzzword. It's an actual trend. You know, we've all heard about AI, but agentic AI is autonomous or semi-autonomous AI, where an agent can actually go do things on your behalf, like things behind the scenes. We're looking at how all of this agentic and generative and predictive AI is helping go-to-market teams move faster, either by taking work off their plate, by helping them be more empowered, or even by doing things while they're asleep. And so we're thinking about a category of AI that at Winning by Design, we're calling GTM Intelligence Agents. So is there intelligence that we can extract and organize that would help me move a prospect from awareness to education to selection to onboarding to retention to expansion, that whole Winning by Design bow tie? Is there intelligence that can get handed off from stage to stage so that no matter where, when, and where I engage as a GTM professional, there's intelligence available to me that was harvested from a prior phase, organized, and delivered to me in a way that helps me engage with the customer in a helpful way to help her kind of progress? So we're thinking about that as like a GTM intelligence agent. But I think every one of the companies that we have on today, Momentum, Fathom, and Grain, has their own spin on it. And the cool thing is we got the CEOs of each of those companies, like the people who are making it happen, Santi, Richard, and Jeff. So as we go through this, thank you. As we go through this, they're each going to demonstrate not a feature by feature kind of, here's what the product does, but like a benefits demonstration, a scenario demonstration, almost an experience day in the life demonstration of kind of what you can do with the product, what you can do with this platform, and how intelligence kind of can be organized and delivered in a way that really helps you advance. So that's a very generic introduction. I want to encourage each of you. There's going to be some time in between these scenarios to have a conversation with Richard, to have a conversation with Santi, to have a conversation with Jeff. And again, these are the CEOs. So think about kind of what you would want to ask them. Actually light up the chat during the scenarios or write things down during the scenarios, because we only have a few minutes, and take advantage of this time. Andrew, I'm going to hand it off to you to introduce kind of the rest of the agenda.
Yeah, welcome everyone. It's great to be with you. Have so many people here talking about this. So just want to quickly run through. I'll give an introduction very briefly of each participant today. They will have a few minutes thereafter to kind of give you that day in the life showcase, then questions. So to start us off, we're going to go hand it to Jeff at Grain, making sure, yep, my screen is sharing. He will be working through with showing what Emily, as a sales manager at a mid-market sales SaaS company, is looking to do. She's manager of 6 AEs. 2 are experienced and consistently meeting quota. 3 are newer reps and are kind of getting behind. And 1 is an experienced rep that actually is significantly struggling. And her goal...
Never seen this before, Andrew.
No, never this kind of a mix. Never this kind of a mix. So this is an interesting, hopefully Jeff and Grain team can help her out. But her goal really is to be driving that revenue growth through the attainment of her team to quota. So what she'll be going through, thinking through, is the weekly pipeline review. And we'll hand to Jeff for him to walk us through Emily's day.
All right, awesome. Thanks for that setup, Andrew. So yeah, just to kind of continue the story for Emily, she's in Grain. She has her pipeline, and what's really great about Grain, like as we were talking about agents, is this isn't just the notes. This isn't just the manually input data. This is the data that comes from each of the conversations. So as Emily is looking at the various things in our dashboard, she actually sees spiced. We work with the Winning by Design to sort of build this, and kind of can see a spiced completeness score for each of the deals. And she can click into that and actually get specific data, which is a roll up of all the different conversations. So if there was one conversation in this deal, then it shows if it was multiple. And so she notices that this particular rep here didn't seem to have really nailed impact. As you can see, situation, pain, a little bit of information on the critical event and decision are there, but missed impact. So Emily can click in to impact and see actually a summary of why potentially we don't have a good understanding. And then that is ultimately linked to the underlying calls. So you can actually go in and she can go in and watch the moments on the calls to see kind of why do we think that impact is missing. After that, she can go into into HubSpot and see what is across multiple deals going on, and how she can how these deals have missing impact or other things for additional details. So whether you're doing it in Grain or in HubSpot, it's all the same. Then later in the day, she wants to do some coaching. So she wants to see what are some recent calls that she's done with her team. And so she uses the AI scorecards in Grain to identify coaching opportunities that are happening on her team. So she sees, for example, she has a new rep that she wants to see, and she sees that this rep is struggling with closing. So as you can see here, this was scored a 3. And so she can kind of dive into closing to see specifically why that rep is potentially struggling to close. In this case, it could be not scheduling a follow-up event or not asking a clear question to understand where the prospect is feeling on the excitement for the deal. Then after kind of doing this work and checking her AI scorecards for her team, she then can schedule a meeting with this rep to kind of go through the specific moments in the call and do some hands-on coaching to help them improve. You can also see here this rep is monologuing way too long, and so there's an opportunity to coach this rep and help them do better. So then if she wants, she can leave a specific comment directly in the dash. Emily can leave a specific comment directly in the product. Also, just to kind of flag if she doesn't have time to do a meeting and do things asynchronously. Additionally, she sees one rep. She can filter the dashboard by rep and sees that one rep is having a lot of trouble. As you can see, lots of low scores here. And she can see familiar patterns of low performance across most of Alex's calls. And even though this rep is experienced, can still see that this rep is struggling significantly with very basic skills. Because on each of these calls, she can see that the rep is scoring 2s and 3s. So now she can look and identify patterns to discuss this rep's overall performance with the rep exactly, or with leadership if she feels like she needs to make a change in order to hit quota attainment. So by the end of the day, after using Grain, Emily now feels confident that she can effectively coach her reps. Again, as Andrew showed in her slide before, it was mostly what was being reported by the reps, or it was randomly picking calls and trying to dive in, and she was missing a lot of these opportunities. Now she feels like she has a very good overarching view of the persistent issues across teams and how to identify how to help them nail it so that they can hit quota attainment.
Amazing. Andrew, any responses to that? Like, what did you think?
I think it's amazing. I selfishly, I love the deep dive on Spiced, of course, and the ability to score against that, and really to dig in, like where specifically in those interactions, those elements of Spiced, or really any of those elements you're searching for, come up, whether you're doing a good job of it or also pointing out where that's lacking. And I think that's really helpful from a coaching standpoint.
I mean, back in the day when we wanted to coach, and this is going to, reveal my age, but, we would do what we called like a seat ride, like we'd sit next to a rep and just listen to the call. Sometimes you'd jack into the call. Sometimes you'd listen to the call. Maybe you'd even, if it was an in-person sales call, maybe you'd even spend a day with a rep. And then afterwards, you'd have a bunch of notes, right? Like, here's what went well, here's what didn't go well. And now, Jeff, what I'm seeing is I can still do that, but I don't have to be present. You're on mute.
Yeah, you don't have to sit and spend an hour or 35 minutes listening to a call in which you may or may not, by luck of the draw, find opportunities to coach. It's not,
Right,
it's a bad sampling method, basically. Your
right.
schedule shouldn't dictate the sampling method of your coaching.
And the other cool thing that I saw is like, so the sampling method shows me who's actually executing on the SPICE methodology, who's not executing on the SPICE methodology. And so now I can hone in on a rep, but then even further, I can hone in on moments within those interactions that are coaching moments, it sounds like.
That's right. That's right. So you can kind of sample across calls and then get pointed to the right moments within calls.
Yeah. Coaching is one of the things that is the most important for rep performance and probably the worst done by frontline managers. Not to say that we don't all think that we're wonderful coaches, but we don't always get to it, and we don't always have a good methodology for it. So this seems like it puts a little structure around it, gives me some time back in my day, and allows me to get to the thing that actually makes the biggest difference.
Yeah, we talked to many sales managers building this, and that was the consistent thing we heard is like, I know coaching is super important. I just can't do it enough because it's too time consuming.
And I can't, and even if I can record the calls, okay, great. So now I don't have to sit next to reps and hope for coaching moments, but just a recorded call, I still got to watch it, right? Like now if I can hone in on a moment or see adherence to a framework or a strategy and use that as my way to hone in, now I get even more time back. There's a question in the chat about how do you actually get spiced in there?
Yeah, so the way essentially we do it is we have the data from the calls because the calls are recorded and transcribed, and we use AI and various machine learning models to essentially evaluate against the SPICE framework to see if the meeting, like how complete the information is. So we first see, like, extract, do we see something that looks like situation? And then we have sort of an agent evaluate, is this a good version of a situation or not, or is detail missing? And the agent makes an evaluation on how full or complete the information seems relative to our understanding of the customer and what was said on the calls.
How are we doing on time, Andrew? I want to keep going if we have time, or I'll switch if we need to.
We have, I think, 2 more minutes.
Oh, amazing. Okay. So what about, Jeff, what about reps? So you showed a day in the life for Emily. She's the manager / coach. And sometimes Winning by Design has a whole kind of training program on from manager to coach. We think it's way more important to coach than to manage. But we looked at her view. What about the rep? How does the rep use this?
Yeah, so I think the rep uses this. It just completely hooks into their calendar. They can set up they or their manager can set up some simple rules on which calls get captured and which don't. And what I think the reps really love is the HubSpot integration, which I kind of briefly showed from the SPICE perspective, but it actually will automatically update the CRM after each call. So the reps love using it. It's not just spyware for them. They love using it because it makes their job easier, so they don't have to do all that kind of like admin work post-call of taking notes and adding them to CRM and kind of that hygiene work that, they don't love doing, frankly, right? They want to talk to customers and they want to build relationships and close deals and not, be an EA or an admin.
Really? That's shocking, Jeff. Most of us do want to be an EA and an admin and spend all of our time in the CRM. I'm not sure why reps would not have gotten the memo. So, there's some questions about the SPICE methodology itself and kind of adherence to that. And it wasn't asked, but I'll ask you, like, have you seen yet, do you have enough data to correlate adherence to SPICE with sales success?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the data you have. I think you guys did a study with thousands of deals and basically found a heavy correlation on merely just the presence of anything in the CRM is highly correlated with deal closure. What we're beginning to see is, that's why ours isn't like, if you notice, it wasn't just a check mark. It's a Harvey ball to kind of say there's nothing here, there's a little bit here, or we feel like there's the agent evaluates, we feel like this is well understood, and we actually use sort of like agentic technology to make that determination, not just a heuristic. And so we feel like when there was really complete amount of information, it's even better than just like a quick dot. But so now it's not just making sure the rep asks the question, like, tell me what impact you're driving, but actually gets enough information by asking follow-ups, which I think is the next level.
Amazing. And so driving adherence, let's assume that Spice actually helps. And for everyone on the call who is not who's never spent time in a consulting firm, the Harvey balls are those little circles with either half filled or quarter filled or fully filled. It's amazing. Thank you, Jeff, for bringing the Harvey ball back. But a quarter
Bring the
filled,
Harvey ball back.
bringing the Harvey ball back. But like a quarter filled Harvey ball is not as good as a full Harvey ball, and full Harvey ball shows that I'm actually kind of getting to the discovery and understanding that we would expect in order to advance that
the level of
opportunity,
detail
right?
that we feel like it can make you can actually make determinations off of.
Amazing.
That's
All right,
great. Got to move on.
back to
Got
you.
our
Thank you.
round
Thank you.
robin.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah,
Jeff.
of course. It's fun.
Jeff, stay on because we're going to have a little conversation afterwards, hopefully.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to our next. We have, excuse me, we have Santi from Momentum. His persona is an actual person. His name is Arjun, who will be with him as part of this. Arjun works for Verif, provider of online identity verification. And his focus really is on data integrity, identifying risks, and providing actionable insights for the revenue team. But he is finding that a lot of these tasks for him are very manual, time consuming, and really has a lot of inconsistencies to it. So I'll hand it to Santi and Arjun for showing us how Arjun gets through that.
Thank you, Andrew. And by the way, I just noticed our logo is the old one, so we gotta go roll it out. We have this, it's very close, just it has less lines in it, we made it more slick.
Make the update, yeah.
Definitely do
I
that.
really like Jeff's demo. There's a lot of alignment between what they do and we do. Perhaps where things are slightly different, and what I want to highlight is that we think about the aggregation of all this data as a very interesting problem with a ton of potential. In the end, having tools that allow you to really quickly go and review the status of your reps and do some one-on-one coaching by your managers is a great start. And we put a lot of effort into that as the initial focus. But then we realized, oh my God, if we aggregate it all and we analyze it in batch and we get reports that show you the organization as a whole and trending patterns at that scale, then you start talking about organization-wide improvement, identifying patterns that make a lot of impact. So Momentum has taken a slightly different path where our focus has been on the systematic extraction of the data and putting it in tools you use for it. In fact, I asked Arch to come because some of the stuff he's done with the data we output for him, we couldn't dream of. It blew my mind. And he's doing it with BI tools and, of course, with data that lives inside their Salesforce and not the Momentum admin. So when I go into the admin side, I want to show you a little bit of what Arch is doing as a RevOps, and this could be something that sales enablement could drive as well to refine the data extraction that Momentum does, the spice insights that we get out, the little coaching insights that you get out. And then I want to have Arch really quickly jump into a couple of screenshots of simple data reports he's gotten on individual rep performance over time, or even the whole organization over time.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is going to be a little bit of admin, a little bit of technical stuff. We're going to start with the idea of being able to create what we call autopilot extractions. You're able to put together these prompts. And by the way, you own the prompts. Yes, we work with the Spice team, with the Win It by Design team, to put together incredible Spice extractions. But, for every company, the description of situation or critical event tends to be highly focused on their specific area of expertise, what they sell, who their buyers are. So if I'm selling to a DevOps company, their situation needs to describe the situation of the engineering team and the organization. So being able to grab the prompt that we put together with the team at Winning by Design already gives you a really strong start for the situation extraction, linking that to a specific Salesforce field you wanted to go to, and then grabbing the two bars that you want to actually tweak and make yours makes a whole difference on the quality of the data we get you in the end. Then, of course, when you put it into practice, you'll want to do things like, look, don't extract the situation feel for me if a call is a close one deal or it's in the finalizing paperwork stage. I only really want it during the early phases of a deal. That's when we collect the situation of a customer. So you can build the CRM-based rules for each extraction. And this gives us the power to do things like fully automatic write. My reps don't have to come into Momentum to accept the suggestion, to review the suggestion. The data flows freely into Arj's hands. So he can report it, analyze it at scale, improve forecasts without reps having to actually use tools, which they like quite a bit. Because if there's one more thing that reps don't like doing other than being EAs is having 7 tabs in their browser they have to go click around to get things done.
God,
best
I don't
part
know
is
which
this
reps you're
actually
talking to.
it's actually great because we don't even tell the reps that we're collecting spice, but week over week on each one of their calls, I get all their spice data. I even have it feeding in if they don't do a good job in a particular letter at a certain point in their call. For example, the early letters, if they're not getting critical event on any call before S3, I get it straight to me and it goes straight to the sales manager being like, hey, you need to let your rep know that they're not hitting on critical event in these early calls. Let's make sure we dig into that.
Yeah, it's a slightly different approach. In our world, the reps in the process of data collection are more of a bug, not a feature. If we can unlock the data and take it away from the reps and just put it straight in the hands of people like Arj, then insights can really flow freely and decisions can be made quickly. So you have a bit of a mix of both worlds where you can review calls as a rep, review the summaries, of course, interact with the transcript and provide, comments as a manager as you kind of go through the call. But you will also see things like what Momentum thought field value should be. Competition, profile of the customer, pain, many of these, because Momentum was configured correctly, were fully automatically extracted. We know exactly what the critical event has been, and this being pushing into Salesforce on a timestamp basis append mode. So we're kind of collecting along the way. And finally, I do want to switch it off to Arch to show some of the outputs that we do on extracting a lot of these Spice data set in a quantifiable way. 1, 2, 3 is what we've chosen for them, and kind of ranking and spider graphing reps output.
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually going to share two quick screenshots and then actually stop sharing and share a third one. But this is actually just shows you week over week of an average of particular reps. I've grayed out their names so you can't see who they are. But this is just on a few spice. I actually left impact off. It's below in the thing. I need to drag it up. But this is just kind of seeing trending week over week. So I can actually put this in the rep's hand and in their one-on-ones, they can go in and be like, hey, like in January, you were really good at appreciating, but then what happened afterwards? Or you actually did really great at critical event here. Let's dig into that more. But then also looking at it more holistically around, okay, like we have 16 competencies that we grade our reps on. They're spiced, they're all done by Winning by Design. They all follow the process. We actually did a Winning by Design training. So actually, if I go back to this slide, you actually see there's a big spike in that third week, and that really kind of correlates to when we had our training done. We established a baseline, we went through a training, and you actually see after the training, we saw people following ACE review. They were appreciating the call, they were setting the agenda, and that was something we could track to actually see how effective these trainings are. But then also looking at a composite score, being like, okay, on average, we're at a 1.8 on, I believe, is appreciation, but on a 0.87, so the 0, 1, 2, we're trending kind of lower. What can we do without that? And so like maybe we need to dive deeper on critical event or asking who will benefit or really dive into impact. I'm going to stop sharing for a second and go to another screenshot. This is the latest, so please take this with a grain of salt. I'm actually working on this right now. But it's some great kind of spider graphs that kind of just show like, hey, like if I'm a rep and I'm like want to think of my reps as like top players in the NBA, the NFL, the FIFA, right? So they all have spider graphs that show all their skills. So these are the skills displayed in a really easy manner. And then once again, month over month comparison. Obviously, we didn't get good impact scores. This is why this is not working so well. It's still a test. But you can actually see where our reps were doing better or worse, and where they're actually as a composite the team is going. So the next step of taking this is like, hey, now let's look at my team average, my global average, and where do you stack against each of the team global averages as an individual, and where as a global team do we need to improve overall? So yeah, I
Amazing.
mean, this has just been absolutely incredible. In the last 2 months, we have a very small RevOps and enablement team, but we've just found so many avenues for just unlocking like let's do mini appreciation seminars or mini confirming end goal seminars. How do we quantify both, from from a emotional point of view, but also from a financial point of view, and really bring that back in so we can make those displacement sales, because this is what we're truly after, is that revenue growth.
So at the bottom of your screen, you have a react button and there's a little clap thing. I'm going to put that in there for Arjun. Thank you so much for joining us. We love our customers. I think everyone on this call would agree. We'd love to work with somebody like you on our teams, like actually getting to the essence of the matter.
If there's one thing I am, it's a data nut. And as RevOps, like, we love data, and being able to work with companies like Winning by Design and Momentum has truly just unlocked so much for us. And
So
we're seeing
good.
the benefit, because we're seeing that growth quarter over quarter, month over month, year over year.
I can't wait for cloning technology so we can have more Arjuns in the world.
Let me know. I'll be the first one to sign up. My company needs 3 of me.
So good. Thank you, Santi and Arjun. We got questions in the chat, but Andrew, one thing that stood out to me is just, the way Santi teed it up around data extraction as like a, from unstructured to structured and meaningful data in a way that I can actually, drive action. What was your reaction to that?
I loved it as well. I spent a lot of my career on the data extraction side. And it's always been a big challenge, whether it was within the sales team or within product, like all of these places to learn from, but you can't unlock it because it's so difficult to pull out. So I was really excited to see that, and the power that has to enable pretty much everyone across that, every unit that's working with along the bow tie, along that customer journey.
Yeah. I think there was a question about whether those spider charts are in the Momentum app or BI app. I think that's BI that you did. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm working with the team right now to get them into Momentum, but right now I'm doing some initial tests because I wanted to get early access to it.
So the beauty of our approach, and I firmly, of course, I'm the founder, so of course I firmly believe in what we chosen to do. But when you run into 100 customers and they all have 100 ideas of what they want to do with the data,
Right.
and what we have strategically decided to do is not to try to build it all into our platform and kind of have to bend everybody to our will, rather the other way around. How do we output this into Snowflake? How do we output it into Salesforce? How do we do it automatically? And then see what they do. I sat with Arch in New York City, I think 2 weeks ago, when he showed me the spider charts, and it blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, I want to build that next. But the beauty of it is he had the spider charts a month and a half ago. He's been using it before I even have to go build it, which is one of the benefits of thinking about.
Democratize the data. That's how I put it best. Put it in the hands of the people who can use it.
The other thing, I know you're going to give me the hook, Andrew, but the other thing, yes, okay. the other thing that I really liked, Santi, is, I noticed you have S, P, I, C, E, and D, got it. But then on that spider chart, you had a bunch of other things like who will benefit and asking follow-up questions and summarizing other skills that go beyond discovery. And I believe, I'm guessing, you either took Winning by Design concepts and adapted them, or you took someone else's or your own, and you're able to kind of, through the prompt engineering that you showed us, Santi, you're able to actually customize that to what you want to see in your business with your rep. So another example of not being one size fits all.
1000%. We actually followed your entire bow tie, and then I worked really closely with Coach K to just iterate on all of the prompts to make sure they fit our use case. They make sure we weren't getting any fluff, and just digging deep on like clear, concise, less than 300 characters. Here's what the feedback is, so that way, like, we can put it in the manager's hand and they only have something to say.
Love it.
Amazing.
Amazing.
One thing my CTO will murder me if I forget to mention at the very end, which is super cool about this idea of just thinking about the data by itself. We can retroactively build all this out for the last 2 years of any business. What if we go into your Gong and grab the 13,000 calls your team has been taking, and we give you the backwards assessment, so you can kind of already do a quick assessment of where we're at, rather than just start from zero today when you bought Momentum.
I feel like if I did that, I would have to put in my mouth guard, Santi, because it may not like what I see. Amazing. Thank you so much. Amazing. All right, Andrew, back to you.
Thank you, guys. Yes. All right. Now, let's see. Now we're going to hear from Rich at Fathom. And we're going to learn about Sam, a sales manager for a SaaS company with about 15 million in ARR, 80 employees. So we kind of understand the size of things for them, what they're trying. Many of us here know the challenges that exist there. They have a single stage sales-driven or AE-driven sales process. And Sam's goal really is to conduct efficient but comprehensive pipeline reviews with a rep. So with that, I'll hand it over to Rich.
All right. Great to be here. Thanks for having me, guys. Let me go ahead and share my screen. There we go. So if you're not familiar with Fathom, we are first and foremost AI note taker for everyone in your org, but we've added a lot of features recently to really double down on helping sales teams, which is why we're here, right? So I want to show you this is our team workspace view. You can see all the meetings that are shared with you. But as we mentioned in the scenario, we're a sales manager, so we want to do a pipeline review. So let's click into open deals. And so what's kind of cool about this, and I'm going to pick someone on our team. Let's pick stuff that's closing this month. I care about the big deals, so let's just do that, right? And let me pick on Connor on our team as an example. So, because I know there's some good fake data over here. All right, so what are we looking at here? So imagine I'm doing a pipeline review here with Connor. I've got all his deals that are supposed to be closing this month. I've got this nice activity chart that shows me all the emails that he sent, and the blue dots are all the meetings that he's had. So I can kind of at a glance see, okay, he said it's going to close this month. Do we have any activity on this? If not, that's one flag I might want to do. But when we click into the biggest deal he's got here, there's been a lot of activity on it, but let's click in and see what's happening. And so immediately you're going to see a lot of information at your fingertips here, right? Obviously, you're going to get, here's all the meetings, and yeah, we do meeting summaries and action items and all that good stuff. But we give you kind of a nice overview. Here's all the meetings that we've had. Here's the talk time on each one, but here's where all the magic happens on the right side. So we've got our SPICE summary, situation, pain, impact, critical event, you name it, right? So you can see through all this. What I also really like about our SPICE summary is all of it's a hyperlink. So you can click in to watch where that was mentioned. So, I think we have this theory notes are good, but the primary source stuff is better, right? I'm actually an engineer by trade, but I have run sales teams before, and I kind of trust their notes, but I really like listening to what the customer said way more. So we give you that opportunity. What's also cool about this summary here is I've customized it. So I've got kind of standard SPICE summary, but you can just give the Fathom AI any feedback you want about how you like to see the summary being different. And that's really important for us to make it super easy for you to customize the summaries to your methodology. I think as Jeff or Santi pointed out, everyone's implementation, everyone's situation everyone's stuff is a little bit different. So we make it super easy for you to give that feedback. What else you notice here is we make it really easy for you to map these fields, sections to fields in HubSpot, Salesforce as well. But as you can see here, okay, so I've mapped these to my HubSpot. If I go in, just so you can keep me honest on this, right? If I go into this record actually in HubSpot, great. I can see all the meetings I've had with this customer, but yes, it's populating all the fields in HubSpot too. So you don't necessarily need to go in Fathom. You don't need to live in Fathom. But back over here, so, got the deal summary, click into it, learn more information. We also have this chart called Key People we really like, where we're pulling out all the kind of folks that have been across all the meetings. We're figuring out kind of what their roles have been. You may want to go look at meetings specifically for them. You can go look them up on LinkedIn. You can jump to them in your CRM. And then the last thing that I really, really love for us is this thing called Ask Fathom, which you can kind of think about as like ChatGPT for your deals or your meetings. So we have this on individual meetings, and we have this on deals. So if I'm doing a pipeline review here, we're getting close to the end. I might want to ask, did we offer any discounts to this prospect? And Fathom AI will kind of dig through every meeting we've had, find the answer, and not only find the answer, it'll also link us back to the specific parts of the meetings where that came up. So again, if I'm a sales manager, I'm trying to get smart on some deal that we think is going to close. Give you a lot of tools to kind of do that.
Oh my gosh, there's nowhere to hide for a rep at this point. Did we offer any discount on this deal? Oh, no, definitely not. We never talked about that. Well, let me just check.
I'll throw out, that's kind of the end of that scenario, kind of keep it short and sweet. Since this is winning by design, some of our favorite groups of people to work with, I'll throw out a few things that are actually on our roadmap. I don't usually do this, but I'll throw out a few stuff that's coming soon. One is this concept of AI search. So I think also if I'm a sales manager, one of the things I'm also constantly trying to do is influence product. And one of the great ways to influence product is to find all the mentions of certain features or blockers. And so we're basically doing this AI search where you can start asking questions like, hey, find me every time someone asks for a feature related to integrations. And it'll find all the clips of those meetings, package up into a playlist that you can give to your product manager. Hey, find me every objection that we didn't have a good answer to in the last month. So we're working on that. That's actually in alpha for us, probably
Mhm.
coming out
And that's across
April.
opportunities and customers.
That's
right?
across your entire company, right? So
Right.
you can look across your sales team, look across your CS team, you name it. You can basically do search and find exactly those moments you're looking for. We have kind of keyword search today. This blows that out of the water. And then the last thing I'll mention is we're basically working on our own Spice kind of scorecard as well. But yeah, so that's quickly kind of this. And a last plug, Santi mentioned Gong, our favorite competitor. I think everyone's favorite competitor. They're ridiculously expensive. They haven't made anything awesome in years. We have an offer out there. We will actually, if you are a current Gong customer, we will migrate your data to Fathom, and we'll give you free usage of Fathom until the end of your current Gong contract. And when your Gong contract ends, you'll be on Fathom, which is about 80% cheaper than Gong. So had to throw that out there. Not only 80% cheaper, we get way better ratings on G2. We're the number 4 highest satisfaction product on all of G2, Perfect 5.0. Anyways, you can't ask founders to come up here and not do a sales pitch. So I'll flip it back to you, Dave.
Hey, Rich, thank you. I love Santi is like encouraging you. It's so good. Jeff and Santi and Richard compete, but I know they're also all friends. So that's kind of the cool thing about AI is we're moving so fast and there's so much ground to cover. And you saw some differentiation in these approaches. There's room for everybody. Rising tide is floating all boats. Thanks, Rich. So Andrew, quick reactions to what we just saw from Rich.
I really love the hyperlinking into specifics. I'm similar to Rich. I want to be able to sometimes I'm like, I don't know that I trust the summary or trust the data. Like, I want to hear it for myself, maybe hear the emotion. So being able to dive deep in that and getting the access to that, not just from the summaries, but these natural language-based questioning, like that's super helpful. Like I don't have to think of what are the right keywords,
Right.
or I'm not sure if I'm going to pull it up. So I think this is all very helpful in speeding things up.
Yeah, I mean, in general, there was a question early on, and I think this is true about all 3 vendors here. There's a question, how do you get the spiced out of the calls? And I think Jeff kind of quickly said, Rich compared it keyword versus AI, and I think Jeff said something about heuristics versus, I can't remember the other word you used, Jeff, but basically AI. But, AI is able to extract meaning through some fun stuff like vectorization, but extract meaning out of a string of words, not just look for specific words. So if you were to do like what Richard was saying, go do a keyword search, or what Andrew was saying, you'd have to actually know the words that you're searching for out of the transcript. But now I don't have to know the words. I just have to know the concept that I'm searching for, and AI can go look for that, which is amazing. One thing I saw, Rich, and maybe I'm just behind, maybe this is like no big deal and everybody does it. But when you went into HubSpot, I saw the actual call with the actual thumbnail and the actual like when I look at meeting representations in HubSpot, I don't see that. Is this unique to you, or is everybody doing this?
This is a pretty new HubSpot feature that just came out a couple months ago.
Got it.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
And you said we don't have to go back to, we don't have to live in Fathom. We could actually live here. So can I watch it from here too?
You can't actually watch it from here. HubSpot integration is not that advanced, but you can at least get the you get summaries. You can get all the, we'll populate all the fields from Fathom into here. Yep.
Got it. And then I'll just pop out and watch it from that link. Yeah. Okay, cool. Amazing. Yeah. Cool. So then I saw some of the customization stuff too, in terms of, I love the one that you brought up. Create a new section. Thank you for that. Right on cue. Create a new section at the top that gives me the seat count. Okay, well, am I a seat count company or am I not a seat count company? Maybe I need maybe it's server count, maybe it's location count, maybe it's employee number. But there's something unique to me, which came up in a previous call, that I actually want to make sure gets highlighted in situation. And here you're able to instruct it to grab that.
Yep. Yeah, we think it's really important that it's really easy for you to configure this, right? And kind of talk to it like you would any other kind of AI.
Amazing. All right. And do you see anything else in the chat that we haven't gotten to?
Well, the chat is very active. And so I'm like falling behind, but luckily, the teams are following up
Yeah, I see that.
in
Yeah,
chat.
amazing.
So I'm trying to glance through if we've missed anything, but
Well, why don't we pull Jeff and Santi back into the conversation to join Rich? And like I said at the beginning, this is a privilege to have you guys on the call. Honestly, like 3 AI CEOs all in the same room. I think being here is quite a special opportunity. So, and I know that you compete with each other, but I know you're also on different trajectories, and that we're all, and we'd have some common enemies, which we won't mention. Rich,
We can mention
You've
them.
got to be Switzerland, Dave. I respect
I've
that.
got to be Switzerland. Yeah, exactly. But let me just encourage the audience. Like, what other things would you want? Kind of, and we're thinking about agentic AI and working in your sleep. I think somebody said something, and working across. Like there's a bunch of frontiers here, working across opportunities, working across functions within a company, not just within sales. There's a bunch of frontiers here. So let me just watch the chat, and anything you want to ask. In about 5 to 10 minutes, we'll have these 3 CEOs drop. If you're embarrassed to ask or comment on something with them in the room, then you'll get to comment when they're out of the room, and we're going to ask you to compare and contrast what you saw. But with these 3 CEOs in here, I see a common enemy is old school thinking. I love it. Coach K, love it. Okay, so buying group roles. I think that's really interesting. I don't even know if anyone here tracks. Actually, I think I saw one in one situation, but who wants to take that? There are some purchase cycles that include more than one human on the other side, like a decision committee, a buying group, right? And so we got to have calls with each of them. We got to know where each of them stands. In order to get the deal over the line, we're going to have to go manage a multi-stakeholder process. Anyone want to take that one?
The key people display in the Fathom Deal View, one of the things it does is look across all the meetings you've had before. And if anyone's discussed that, right, obviously we can't do magic, but if there's usually if you've got a good rep, they'll pull out, hey, who are the people that are in the buying committee? We'll pull that into the key people UI.
Cool.
I love
That's often part of, in Spice, the decision process, right? So
That's it.
that's kind of how we do it.
One cool use case I've seen a customer of ours do is because Momentum in the end, it's just all about the automated piece. We have a bit of a no-code core to everything that we do. So they wrote like an advanced workflow where every time you identified a new person, you would look them up in the opportunity in the CRM, and if they didn't exist, create them, and then fill in some of the learnings we heard in the call about them. So if somebody shows up and says, hey, my boss, John, is the COO, he's got, the final signature on this process, we'd be able to create John's contact in the CRM, enrich it with the email, and then put a little detail that says he's the one who's going to sign. It's kind of a cool. We don't do it ourselves because we don't have the time to build that advanced workflow, but they did, which is super cool to see.
Very cool. And so they're doing it using data that you're extracting, and they're using prompts and Momentum.
That's a blending of automation and AI that is super interesting, which
Okay.
I think these days you call it agentic. To me, it's almost like in the old days, it was no code. This idea that AI sources the data and then predictable workflows put it where you need it, I think is hopefully it's going to be the trend this year.
Not everyone can be an engineer and a salesperson, Richard. But so for those of us who aren't salespeople on the call, one of the main ways that you lose a deal is by not identifying the sleeper. Like the person who's hiding, like John in your instance, Santi. Like, I've been talking to Mary. She's given me lots of stuff. I'm forecasting the deal. I got happy years. We've never heard of reps like this. I think everything's charging along. Even all of my, I'll just stick with your example, Santi. Even all of my Spiced is good, and Momentum is telling me I'm doing a good job, and my manager's telling me a good job, and then the deal doesn't close. And the reason the deal doesn't close is because I didn't know about John. But what you're saying is, if I can extract some additional information, Jeff, to your point about the decision process, and then I can use that as a follow-up item, then maybe I don't get surprised by John.
Yeah, I think
100%.
that's why like the D in decision I think is so important, right? It's if that's empty or there's not a lot of information, it's probably an indicator that the rep isn't actually scratching the surface there and trying to figure out exactly how the deal gets inked. So that's something that we pay extra attention to. Are other people actually being mentioned, and do we understand kind of who those people are?
Love that. Yeah.
Another super interesting angle in this whole area of sleepers and identifying what we have not actually heard and not just what we heard is email conversations and support tickets. So much of the insights that are untold happen in a way higher density channel, like emails. People tend to not break up with you over Zoom; they break up with you over email or the lack of showing up to Zoom calls. So being able to pass
Easier.
that kind of conversational data set through the same pipes and have it analyzed with the same prompts to collect, oh, okay, in an email you told me you're not the signature holder. In the call you did, because you perhaps were overly optimistic and wanted to look good in front of somebody you don't know. But over email, you really quickly said, oh, actually, John, my boss, will be the one signing. He's on vacation. That kind of extraction becomes really powerful too, alongside the call, which is, of course, I'm excited about calls, but emails is a little unknown area of data that is powerful too.
So now you're getting to like integration across, like I'm kind of multimodal integration, and some of what I opened the call with, like when we think about this as a GTM intelligence agent, and then we think about where does the intelligence live, some of that intelligence and largely untapped intelligence is in these unstructured data sources that we call calls. Got it. Okay. And now you're reminding us, actually, there's also data in emails. Okay, cool. And where else is there data? There's also intelligence in other systems. And I think that, and we're writing a report on this right now, I think that GTM intelligence agents over time are going to be able to pull data out of customer systems, like out of Gainsight or out of Tatango or out of Amplitude. Like what's happening with this existing customer. And Richard, you said that Fathom is not just for sales teams, it's for the whole team. Well, do I want to know what's going on with my customers' usage of my product? I might. That could be a source of intelligence. What about intelligence out on the web? Like maybe I could go grab intelligence about this prospect that I don't have time to research, but I can pull into the conversation. We actually did an integration like that with our deployment of a sales agent, not a GTM intelligence agent. But we used OneMind to be a AI SDR, and then we used Clay to go out and get information about the prospect so that I can enrich that conversation. Oh, so are you Fathom the AI note taker, or are you Fathom that other thing that I sometimes get when I Google Fathom? Oh, you're the AI note taker. Okay, therefore I know who you are, and now I can have an intelligent conversation with you, and I can go do some research about that. So AI, I think you brought up an important point, Santi. There's more to do from here.
Yeah, I think Zendesk tickets, by the way, is one of the strongest ones. If we want to talk about the
There you
whole
go.
bow tie,
Zendesk.
what
Yeah.
happens after the fact?
Right.
People get your phone over tickets, and that's an area you want to be analyzing and looking at for things like renewals and churn prevention.
Love it. Well, super big heart to everybody from Fathom and Momentum and Grain for being on. I think everyone on the call agrees. Any of us would love to work for any of you. It's a high energy, high intelligence, high EQ group of people, and you're doing important work. I want to give you one more opportunity to engage here. I mentioned that we're running research on what we're calling GTM intelligence agents. We're also running research on 7 other areas of agentic AI, and those are all being wrapped up and published in conjunction with this event that you see on the screen, May 14th, Impact Summit, the Year of AI, where we will be our goal here is to introduce GTM leaders to the art of the present. And the reason I don't say the art of the possible is because things are moving so fast that we don't even have a handle on the art of what's happening today. Like you see a spider chart thing and you're like, oh, that's cool. You see this ability to extract, in a way that hasn't been done before, or and automatically populated into CRM. That's cool. What can an agent do from there? So we're going to highlight some of the best use cases and the best kind of unlocks in GTM because we all know that growth has been on the decline for SaaS. I hate to say that, but David Spitz has been tracking this for like 12 quarters, and you can see it. And at the same time the growth is declining, we're paying more for it. So what's the unlock? The unlock is to get AI working for us. You know, let's take some of this work off. Let's speed it up. Let's actually simultaneously take the cost to serve out and the quality of service up, which is the promise of AI. So that we're going to be talking about that at the Impact Summit. You're going to get an email after this that includes links to all three of these vendors, their landing pages that indicate how they incorporate Winning by Design into their solutions, and then an invitation to engage further with them. Thank you so much. Love you. We'll see you on the next one.